Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Okay, item 29, we have a brief update on the Section 17A review of the Three Waters. Teresa. So this is just letting us know that it's underway.
Yes.
Any comments you'd like to make on it?
Oh, God. It's all right. Yeah, we just actually wanted to just give everyone an update, just to let you know that the review is underway. The point in the review that we're at is that we have understood really our situational analysis and our broader context. We've put in at the back of the report our current draft investment logic map, noting it is draft. We only got to this point on Monday in an externally facilitated session, and really it's just a point where if people want to ask any questions, then they can.
Vicky.
Yeah, I have lots of questions, sorry, because I don't agree with this investment logic map whatsoever. And in fact, it seems, and I appreciate it's not your work, Teresa, so apologies, you are the messenger, that this seems designed for a specific outcome. So the three big issues, I agree with the climate change one, but the other two are not the issues that we face. So I would have thought the first investment logic map problem was that something like council's entire management services are united and integrated, so that all the benefits of shared services are available to all residents. And that's especially appropriate in roading and parks, which is part of our draft water strategy, that our three waters are integrated with all of the other services. Two practical examples that are operating recently: Rickerton Road, which is about bus interchange, footpaths, beautification for pedestrians, cycles, public transport, but the three waters are an essential part of it for a 2-year project. They are all integrated. And in local government, the whole reason for the 1989 reforms was to integrate all of those services. What we risk here is that the three waters answering these problems comes out as a separate authority, which is where the government wants to go. The second one I would have thought was the major problem that we actually face beyond chlorination was the current safe source water, pure source water, being contaminated by the nitrates that ECAN is allowing to come under the WIMAC in their plan change, and an increase in nitrates of probably 10 to 100 times the current level, which will make our source water absolutely undrinkable and require treatment, which the cost of which some of our staff estimated at something between $1,000 and $2,000 per household per year. And we don't know the cost, basically. So I would have thought that was a way more serious issue than the failure to communicate the value of water services, because I think everybody in Christchurch understands the value of water services. So I have a major problem with these investment logic maps, because I can see exactly where it's going to end up, and I don't like the response that's going to come in, the solution that's going to be suggested at the end, which is going to be, let me suggest, a separate water authority, exactly what the government wanted, and we're going to fall into their trap of designing questions that end up with the answer they want to achieve. So can I just ask, is there any way that we can change this investment logic map, or are we out of that process?
So, first of all, there is, so this committee put forward the members, so we have Councillor Turner and Councillor Cotter, actually part of our external governance group. The problem statements have been put forward internally. There is the way in which a Section 17A review is done is always a silo. So it is done from the perspective of water. So the first thing that you've commented on in terms of current integration, the ILM is looking at it from the perspective of water, and it's looking at it from the perspective of our council. That doesn't mean that we can't identify integration as a challenge. The one on safe source water, the thing you get with these ILMs, and I think many of you would have been involved in them before, is that they articulate a cause and effect in a very, very small number of words that has a much larger amount of information behind it. So in terms of the safe source water, we're aware that that is an Environment Canterbury, but it certainly integrates with us and it's not left out of this review. In terms of your ability to be part of it, yeah, this is not done and dusted, but we have, and maybe Pauline or Andrew might like to add to this, we have a meeting set with our external advisory group on the 19th. So this is still in progress. We will provide a first draft final version and they'll be part of the review.
So can I just be clear, what is the capacity of the council itself, given it's doing and paying for the 17A review, to link the problem definition with the exact issues that we've identified? For example, the integration of our three waters with parks and roading, which is actually in our integrated water strategy, those words exactly, and the concern we have about the source water degradation. What can we do about this now? Are you saying nothing, basically?
Oh, no. I think it would be up to the members of my external governance group to say exactly how they can fit in. But I can confirm this is part of it. So what you've identified, Vicky, is not lost. The integrated water strategy. I can't see it, so it's lost to me. Yeah, I mean, all we've tried to do here is just to notify that there is an ILM under development and that... yeah, I mean, it's just an update on progress.
This is an update on a process which this committee agreed after about 4 or 5 goes at it. And there wasn't agreement around the table around how to approach it, but we got an agreement, and this is just updating what's going on. And I think, I mean, what you're talking about, I mean, I see that, I mean, it is a big, 40% of it is around contamination risk, but issues around nitrates, that's a different, there's different places such as the Plan 7 change in terms of
that is the biggest risk to our water.
Yes, but that's where that focus should be, because that's going to be ECAN managing that.
Well, can I just find out?
So I don't want to confuse the
well, I do want to confuse if necessary.
Yeah. But we've had that conversation, and this process has been approved and is underway.
We have not had a conversation at any stage in this committee about what is the investment logic map, because when you go through this investment logic map, because I've seen them before, they predetermine the outcome. So what you put in the beginning actually means what comes out the end. And I'm sure they may be developed incredibly well by whoever, but the problem that you define determines the outcome, always does. So I'm very keen, and we've never debated it at the council, that we define the problems clearly. And one of the problems with the current review of the three waters is that government clearly wants to take the function of local government and set up separate authorities. For Christchurch, that's nonsense. That's complete and utter nonsense. It's 32% of our capital and our operational spend. And if we take that out, then the unification that you have of all your services is just completely destroyed. And the other one is the nitrates. Neither of them are mentioned.
Are there any questions? I mean, this is, look, Vicky, that's your view, that's fine. We're getting a brief update on a process that's been agreed by this committee. It's a Section 17A review. It's a standard process. If you don't like it, that's fine. Make those comments. But unless you've got any questions...
Well, I asked the questions. I still don't know the answer. We're allowed to take any input whatsoever.
I think that's...
Andrew, do you want to speak?
Thank you. As one of the council's appointed members on the group that's working on this, I see no reason whatsoever why Pauline and I, as we discuss and move to finalisation of this ILM, couldn't raise the two issues that you have raised. I mean, certainly if we're talking about three water contamination, to have a conversation about contamination of our water supply and not be talking about nitrates, given the risk that we know nitrates are, would seem to be quite unusual. How we address that is a different matter than whether we identify them as a risk on this ILM or not. So that's certainly something that I intend to take back. The integration matter is also, I think, something we should have top of mind as well.
Well, they are part of the council's current draft integrated strategy.
Yep.
And you're potentially destroying them.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, this is feedback on the ILM which has been presented. I think we need to realise that this meeting today doesn't have the ability to change anything, but that we do have 2 representatives who've been appointed by this committee, who are there with the role of making sure that the council's view is taken to the group, but also that the 17A review is useful and does have the functionality as a council that we want it to have, and realising that there will be some tensions and there will be a number of different recommendations will come out of this, some of which may be more palatable to council than others, but we need to let the review run a robust course. Part of that robustness is making sure that all of the problems in terms of problem definition are included at this early stage so that they can be addressed through the review. I will promise you that the 2 issues that you've raised this morning will be raised when we go back before this is defined and completed.
Yep.
Can I just, so the investment logic map is still a work in progress. Yeah. So we're having a whole day workshop on the 19th, and Andrew and I are really approachable if you've got any information you think we should have. But what we've got to be careful of is that we go through a robust process without predetermination, and get to the right conclusion, or else it will be chucked out. Okay, so that's what we're working very hard to do that, and Andrew and I have already made considerable changes to the way it was presented initially. I'll tell you that.
Phil?
So can I just ask you, Teresa, just to clarify, so there's nothing really in this investment logic map process which cannot include the wider issues, and in this case the catchment for the water? Or is there?
I think we need to be clear on that the scope is around Christchurch City Council, and so anything that is a recommendation that would go to ECAN does kind of sit outside the review. So it doesn't stop so can I just... I don't think I can make you feel better, Vicky, but I can say that in terms of the investment logic map, we have got the strategic policy people involved as well. So the integrated water strategy, well, that is part of our evidence base, and we make sure that it all fits together. So the requirements, our strategic requirements through strategy and transformation are a really important part of it, so it should go through. And the other point about a predetermined outcome, the latest reporting through LGNZ on the DIA, it does have a greater focus on water quality and not so much the service delivery side of it. We've had a separate meeting with DIA at a regional level, and that sense that there's a predetermination that we're going to create CCOs isn't necessarily... that's not the messaging that we're getting. We're being told to make sure we're working effectively. So
I think there's a couple of things. I didn't actually attend the workshop that delivered this draft, but I did attend the one previous. And if you have a look in this draft, it does talk about sustainable. So, you know, there's certainly within those barriers, there's no solutions have been talked about really. But within there, you can see sustainable has to take into the long term, the definition of sustainable. When you look at it, it talks about holistic. So we actually need to, and we did have discussions at the previous workshop about how water services lead into the development of our communities. Basically, you cannot develop a housing. So that's a holistic point. So those points, and I'm not sure what happened at the last workshop, but they have been looked at when we were trying to brief out that, and there was some good discussion on that. And so when you look at solutions, they will be measured about the local governance requirements. They will be measured against the affordability for the Christchurch. So that would bring in that idea about integrated. It is absolutely from a Christchurch ratepayer's perspective. You wrote the brief in that direction.
We'll make sure it's
in the logic map.
All clear.
Okay, any other questions? Right, okay, so we've had the brief update, there's been some feedback, the council members have taken that on and are open to councillors coming to talk to them. Okay, do I have a mover for the report? Moved Pauline, seconded Jimmy, any discussion? No, I'll put the motion, all in favour say aye. Aye, against, that's carried. Okay. Sorry? Okay, just record Tim and Vicky as no.